Olivia and I first decided it'd be really cool to show two different aspects of Richard. So one where he talks to the crowd, the public, and other people, and one where he talks to us as an audience and himself. So I was given the task of looking at his speeches to the public, and I was looking through them, and I wasn't very interested in a lot of them, but one that really stood out to me was his speech to his soldiers before the Battle of Bosworth. And yeah, so I decided that we should reconstruct the speech for different lines that Richard says or that are said throughout the play.
I will deliver. Remember whom you are to cope withal. A sort of vagabonds, rascals, and runaways. Richmond the boy is foolish, and I fear him not. Chop off his head. Spur you proud horses hard, and ride in blood.
What?
Have patience, I will deliver. Let me put in your minds, if you forget, what you are and what I am, king. Cheated of feature by dissembling nature, deformed and finished, sent before my time into this breathing world. Can you deny all this? What sayest thou now? 'Tis very grievous to be thought upon. Shall I be plain? I wish the bastards dead.
Harry the Sixth bid thee despair and die. Poor Clarence, by thy guile betrayed to death.
They do me wrong, and I will not endure it. Who is it that complains unto the king?
Rivers that died at Pomfret. Think upon Grey. Think about Vaughan. Think on Lord Hastings. Dream on, thy cousins smothered in the Tower. Thy nephews, souls bid thee despair and die.
When have I injured thee? When done thee wrong? Or thee? Or thee?
Richard thy wife, that wretched Anne thy wife.
You mock.
Oh, in the battle think on Buckingham.
This deep disgrace in the
Bloody and guilty, guiltily awake, and in a bloody battle end thy days.
Give me another horse. Bind up my wounds. Have mercy, Jesu. Soft. I did but dream.
We went through Richard III and we looked at different parts and different lines that we wanted to incorporate into the speech. And so we first decided to start the speech out as a normal type, like how Richard actually gave his speech to the soldiers. He's insulting Richmond's men in Richmond, and he's saying that Richmond should not be king and that they should kill him.
Remember whom you are to cope withal. A sort of vagabonds, rascals, and runaways. Richmond the boy is foolish, and I fear him not. Chop off his head.
And so this kind of startles the soldiers. And anyways, no one really is actually on his side. He doesn't have any loyal friends, and everyone actually just wants to go and fight for Richmond, and the only reason he has supporters are because people are afraid of him. So the soldiers start whispering, and Richard gets a little bit more forceful then. He's like, I'm your king, and you must listen to me. You're soldiers, and I'm above you, and you have to listen to my commands.
Spur you proud horses hard, and ride in blood.
What?
Have patience, I will deliver. Let me put in your minds, if you forget, what you are and what I am, king.
He does this, and he slowly, as the speech progresses on, he gets frantic and he gets very forceful. And the speech is actually to the soldiers, but it also has this undertone of Richard trying to convince himself that what he did and all the crimes that he committed were okay because he was king, and that's what he wanted, and that was his goal, and that he was always the underdog. He was always treated unfairly, so his actions were justified, and people should feel sorry for him.
Cheated of feature by dissembling nature, deformed and finished, sent before my time into this breathing world.
So after Richard makes this speech, we have soldiers start shouting accusations at him and telling him all of the terrible things he's done, and we've taken those accusations from one of the ghosts. It was that Richard and Richmond from Act 5, Scene 3, and so we just have that, and throughout the accusations, Richard tries to butt in and defend himself. At first he's like a king, he's very forceful, he's like, I'm your king, you cannot accuse me, but then slowly he kind of stops and he gets cut off, and he starts to lose his confidence.
Mary the sixth bid thee despair and die. Poor Clarence, by thy guile betrayed to death.
They do me wrong, and I will not endure it. Who is it that complains unto the king?
Rivers that died at Pomfret, think upon Grey, think about Vaughan, think on Lord Hastings. Dream on, thy cousin smothered in the Tower, thy nephews, souls bid thee despair and die.
When have I injured thee? When done thee wrong? Or thee, or thee?
Richard thy wife, that wretched Anne thy wife.
You mock.
Oh, when the battle, think on Buckingham.
This deep disgrace in the...
Bloody and guilty, guiltily awake, and in a bloody battle end thy days.
Then at the end we have him wake up and it's all a dream, and we have him repeat the lines that he actually said when after the ghosts visited him and he woke up, and so we have those lines to end the scene.
Give me another horse. Bind up my wounds. Have mercy, Jesu. Soft. I did but dream.
Two places which we really had to think about how to say the lines and how to act it out and how to show emotion were, well, the first one was when Richard talks about his deformity.
Needed a feature by dissembling nature, deformed, unfinished, simple form.
Okay, so I was thinking, so when he's talking about his deformity, he first is very like normal about it and he's just kind of speaking to his people, but then I was thinking it would be really cool if he could kind of get more personal with it. So when he's getting more personal with it, which is around like the last two lines when he's talking about it, I think it'd be cool if you kind of looked at yourself and which would show that he's looking at his deformity and is realizing what he actually is, and kind of eyes downcast, and right, like he becomes really, really quiet at the end. So at first he's very like, oh well, I'm deformed, but it's okay, and he's acting very like kingly, like I'm king, I'm better. But then the second line where he talks more about his deformity, he starts to make it more personal and more about himself, and he starts looking at himself and actually realizing that he is deformed, and he kind of lets down his guard and he becomes very like enclosed and kind of sickened by himself, but then he recovers and puts on his kingly demeanor, but he kind of goes a little bit out of control and starts yelling, and he's like, I want those bastards dead, and he kind of goes insane a little bit. And then we also struggled with the last three lines when Richard wakes up from the dream.
Give me another horse.
Oh, okay, so I was thinking you could first, I think, to add a little bit more but like dramatics into the scene. When you first get up, you can be very like startled and you kind of jump up because, you know, you just like thought you were about to go into battle. And so you should be like very, like, a little bit like, right, like aware and kind of worried and stuff like that, and you just had this terrible dream where a bunch of soldiers started accusing you of things and you realized that yes, you'd done it. So maybe like add a little bit more like panic and worry into that, and then say the lines a little bit more like with more passion and be more like worried and desperate, because that is kind of what Richard is feeling right now. And if you added that into the scene, I think that really put across the point, like it would show what the lines are actually meaning to Richard and what's happening. Take two.
Give me another horse. Bind up my wounds. Have mercy, Jesu. Soft. I did but dream.
Okay, so that was good. That was a little bit more like worried on like getting up and everything. But I was thinking on but when he's asking for mercy, if you could like get on the ground and actually look like you're asking for mercy, because I guess in that moment he really is. He's just very desperate, and I think to put that across, if you like bent on the floor and like clasped your hands in prayer, I think that'd be a really cool effect.
Again, I wanted to show that Richard was really exposed at the point, like especially when he says, have mercy, like this terrible thing's happening to him, he's just had this terrible dream, and he's very like in the moment, and he's very exposed and vulnerable.